Hello, happy people. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today, I wanted to do my top 10 sports films of all times and such from going back from the earliest eras and such, and then moving forward to the modern era and that sort of a thing. Now, most of these films are going to be films that I consider to be sports films. Now, I did do recently a top 10 of martial arts films, but there won't be that much overlap because those were just good films that use martial arts as combats. But I wouldn't consider them to be a sports film because they just don't typically, have the person getting trained, going through all that stuff, going to competitions and that sort of thing. Right? Like, for example, the top couple there were things like, Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai or Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon, right? And I really wouldn't consider that. So there's not a lot of crossover there. So if you like this, check that out too. I've also just recently done last week my top 10 action films, my top 10 domestic films, and my top 10 foreign language films too. So if you like this, definitely check this out. All right, let's get started with number 10. So number 10 is 1984's The Karate Kid. It was directed by John G. Avildsen and starring Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita. This definitely put Ralph Macchio on the map in a major way for you folks. And like I said, this does have him being trained and going to competitions, right, and that sort of thing. So do you consider this a martial arts film and a sports film too, right? And so forth. So there you are. That's number 10. All right, number 9 is Creed. One of the most recent films here from 2015, about 10 years ago, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael P. Jordan, Robert Chardoff, and it's in the Rocky universe too, so obviously still Sylvester Stallone will be showing up. I like his character development here. Moving from boxing to underdog to boxing legend to now coaching. Love it lots. And so I think he does a very good job too. All of the characters do a great job and such. It's a very, very strong film. I love the idea of this iconic guy who was really, Sylvester Stallone's iconic rival. And now his son was to step into the ring and beat him. Right. Love it lots. I think the ideas here are very strong. The acting is very strong. The fight films are very strong. And that's number 9, Creed. Next, number 8 is Dodgeball, a true underdog story from 2005. It stars Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, and directed by Rosen Marshall Thurber. For you folks, now this is really my only Vince Vaughn film that I actually like. Sorry, Vince Vaughn fans. I think he's a little overrated. I don't think his acting this is great, or his comedic timing is great as some people really like. And so really people, come on now. And such, and I'm also not a super big fan of Ben Stiller either. Luckily, he's not directing this one because I don't think it's as strong as it would have been otherwise, and so forth. But I feel that this is an exception that proves my rule rather than the exception that says, "Oh, maybe you should be wrong." Maybe you should check it out. Nope, this is the only one I like. By them, and so forth. I love the characters. I love the development. I love the concepts here too, and such. It's a strong stuff. Love it lots, and that is Dodgeball, number 8. For you folks on number 7 is Rollerball from 1975. It was directed by Norman Jewison and stars James Caan and John Houseman, among others. It's a pretty big cast. Rollerball here set in the future, the dystopian future. And so forth, because it's a made-up sport, they can basically do whatever they want to. I like its commentary on the issues of fame and how we'll often put that into play, that sort of a thing. I think Rollerball is a very, very strong film for those reasons. I think it's probably a little bit classic today and so forth, but I think it's a very strong film, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it, although it definitely is pretty hard times. It's violence is pretty good. And then number 7, the next one is 61 asterisk from 2001 by Billy Crystal, which he does not star in it, starring Thomas Jane and Barry Pepper for you folks. So basically, this idea here is that there is a home run race for people to replace the very, very famous Babe Ruth record from a few decades prior to this in the early 60s. And then because they have added more games to the season and so forth, and because one of the guys who is absolutely loved by fans, absolutely loved by baseball players, is absolutely loved by the media moguls and such too, because of his whimsical and fun characteristics. And the other guy's more of an introvert, just all about the game and so forth. And when it comes clear that he's going to be the one who's going to break the record, they add an asterisk to it. The commissioner analysis and such. I love it. I think it's well directed. I love its commentary too, by Billy Crystal, and so forth. And that's number 661 for you folks with an asterisk. All about that season. All right, so number 5 has to be Rocky. Has to be here. You might be sad it's number 5, but I feel it's fine. But I don't really go to it as a go-to movie, right? I don't really go to it as a good. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times, right? And that sort of a thing. I really don't feel it, right? And that sort of a thing. So this is number 5 from '76, an independent film. It stars and put on the map Sylvester Stallone, as well as Talia Shire and Burt Young, and many others. Great stuff. Love it lots. I think that Rocky absolutely nails the idea of the underdog story, the sports, films, boxing, all that sorts of thing. And I think it's a strong story movie and a great thing too. And it's an independent film that did super well, created an entire franchise, just like the Karate Kid that hit number 1. That was a surprise out of nowhere. People weren't expecting and so forth. And they're still making Rocky films today. I think they just made a great 3, right? So, they're very, very strong stuff. People loved it lots and so forth. It actually won some Academy Awards for an independent film, a sports and a boxing film, right? Which you probably wouldn't see happen today. All right, now the top 4. Number 4 is The Replacements from 2000, directed by Howard Deutsch and starring Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman, and Orlando Jones. Basically, what's happening in this film is that a team called the Washington Sentinels, set in D.C., and so forth, is having an pretty good season that you're heading to the left, and so forth. When a lockout, a strike is called for by the league players, and so forth. And so this over the hill coach, Gene Hackman, and so forth, was fired. He's now brought back, and the guy who's super paid and so forth is let go. And they have been following a bunch of has-beens, never was, right, and those sorts of things, as well as guys given an opportunity to get in place and that sort of thing. So basically, so they have like a sumo wrestler as their center, right, literal bodyguards as guards, and so forth, that were hugely great, in Brothers, when they got separated, right. And Keanu Reeves is playing this great quarterback, Shane Falco, who was a high draft pick and that sort of thing, but can never live up to the pressure, being that and so forth, as it has been. So it's a great film. I love the ideas. I think it's hilarious. It's got some great lines, great catchy stuff. I think the incredible concepts are strong, and so forth. And so that is The Replacements at number 4. Now the top 3 time. The next one is also Major League from 1989, directed by David Ward, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, and Corbin Burnson, among many others. So the idea here is that the Cleveland Browns, they're going through some baseball issues and such. And then the wife and the widow takes over, and in order to cut costs and so forth, she brings in an over-the-hill coach. She brings in a bunch of characters and so forth, like a guy from jail. That's Charlie Sheen's character. He's good in jail, and so forth, convict, and then also some folks like the options and different people out there too, and does tryouts, and some of those tryouts will make it too, and a bunch of lower league players and that sort of thing. So I think the ideas here are strong. It's funny. My major issue with it being number 3 instead of number 1 is I really like the ending as it was originally intended, but the audiences didn't like it, and that sort of thing. But I loved it. I thought it was great. So that's Major League hitting number 3. Number 2 is 8 Men Out from the year prior, 1988, by John Sayles. It also stars John Cusack, Dustin Clifton, James, and Michael Lerner, among others. This is more of a drama rather than a comedy that tells the story of the White Sox scandal and why it happens, and it sort of humanizes them. They are hugely, gambling isn't allowed anymore because of these issues, right? And that sort of a thing. But you can sort of humanizes them in a way and tells the story of the White Sox scandal. I think it really does a great job by John Sayles and such. John Sayles is a great director. From Mate Wallen, which made my top 10 overall films domestic, as well as and this would have been my third one if I had given a third one, as well as Return of the Secaucus 7. I love him. He's an independent director that really knows his stuff and his script. And he's really put a lot of actors on the map in a way. So 8 Men Out, if you haven't seen it, you should see. And number 1 is Bull Durham, that year too, 1988 by Ron Skelton, starring Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Robbins. It's one of my favorite films in the top 10s, and so far it's my favorite sports film of all time too. I just absolutely love Kevin Costner's roles here. I think he does a great job. He absolutely owns this. As well as Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins, they all just nail their parts up from the very, very beginning. And that sort of a thing. The idea here is that a brand new pitcher's been brought in and drafted. It's Tim Robbins, and they need to bring him in a mentor and so forth. So they trade for this catcher, an older guy in the minor leagues and so forth. And that's Kevin Costner's character and such. And I think it's great stuff, and absolutely love it lots. Now, some of those films, like the ones that are rated R, like Bull Durham or Major League, can have some stronger languages and stuff like that, just a heads up. But I think they're all strong films. That's what are on my list. Once again, here's my top 10 in order from 10 to number 1. The Karate Kid at number 10. Number 9 is Creed from 2015, the first one. Number 8 is Dodgeball, a true to underdog story. Number 7 is Rollerball. Number 6 is 61 with Astronauts. Number 5 is Rocky. Number 4 is The Replacements. Number 3 is Major League. Number 2 is 8 Men Out. And number 1 is Bull Durham for you folks. And so there you are. So what are your top 10 sports films? Have you seen these? Do you agree or disagree with them? What are your thoughts on them? Would you put them in this order? And then let me know what your thoughts are. Now remember, I'm not a film critic. I'm not nor somebody who makes films for a living. I'm just a fan. Right? So if you'd like to check those out tomorrow on Saturdays, I dedicate to the Serial Saturdays and such too. So if you feel like that, check out those and that sort of thing. You'll like it. Tomorrow I'm doing Planet of the Giants from 64 from the Doctor Who second season. I've done movie serials, older stuff like that too. So if you feel like it's older things and you like to check those out, take a look at those too and such. I also do video game reviews on Wednesday. I did typically older things. So I did Evil Genius from 2004, which is a James Bond inspired film where you're playing the bad guy instead of the good guys and that sort of a thing. And then I also do on Monday, typically do a reviews of something or related to a war games or like Battletech or more specifically Dungeons & Dragons stuff because it does better hits. I just did 1981's L1, The Secret of Bone Hill by Leonard Lakofka, which I reviewed for you folks. And then on the other 3 days of the week, I do reviews of older things from the science fiction, fantasy, and horror genres that this channel cares about. I did Michael Moorcock last Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I did in the fantasy genres, and then I did I also did an H.P. Lovecraft, a short story. He's popular for his horror stuff in the pulp era. And then on Tuesday, and then yesterday, a couple days ago, on Thursday, I did my review of a post-apocalyptic science fiction early 90s game book called The Omega Zone by Joe Dever, also an Institution for His Lone Wolf stuff. And so those older things, whether it's the movies, whether it's the Serial Saturday, whether it's the video games, whether it's my RPG stuff, or whether it's my 3 regular reviews a week, those 7 things are also where the channel's title comes from, The Worst Thing About New Books, which is a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones. So that sounds like something you'd be excited about. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, watch them, or all these old top 10 news, and so forth, and then just, let your friends know. and so forth. And hit the like button, bell icon too, to be notified of my 7 videos that I post each week. All right, and there you are. And now I want to thank you so very, very much for taking some time out of your day and investing in watching my videos, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening, right, in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.